Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jay Collins with the Planning Commission. Thank you for attending the Valrico Community Plan meeting with us this afternoon. We're going to wait just another minute or two and allow the room to fill in, but we look forward to speaking with you later in the meeting.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this public meeting about the Valrico Community Plan. My name is Bryn Dolphinay with the Planning Commission, here to talk about a few housekeeping items for today. This meeting is being recorded. We will send a follow-up communication with instructions on where to find the recording and related materials soon, but you can find most of what you will need on our project page. Microsoft Teams has a number of options that allow you to add live captions, change the language of the on-screen materials, adjust high contrast visibility, and more. Just navigate to the 3 dots at the top of your screen to explore those options. We welcome comments on this project and want to make sure we document them and have them all in one place. Please place any questions or comments you have in the chat, and we will answer them in order received. We would ask that, in addition to comments this afternoon, any written comments be submitted to the project page. This will help us ensure we capture all of your comments, are able to review them as a staff group, and can ensure they be included in any agenda packets that go to the Planning Commission as well as elected officials during the process. If you have a question or comment about another aspect of the comprehensive plan or another project or development, we ask that such questions be directed to planner@plancom.org. And we will do our best to forward your comments or questions to the appropriate team member or outside agency. We are here to listen and look forward to going over these updates, answering your questions, and hearing community feedback. We have members of the Planning Commission staff here to respond to any technical questions as well. Thank you again for spending this afternoon with us, and at this time, I'll go ahead and send it over to our presenters. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bryn. Really appreciate the introduction there. Again, my name is Jay Collins with the Planning Commission staff, and welcome to this Valrico Community Plan meeting. So the Valrico Community Plan is at the request of the Board of County Commissioners. We've been working with the community now since the summer of last year. One of the things that we do like to do prior to having a conversation about Valrico's community plan are some of the things that are ongoing around Valrico. There are some amendments right now to the comprehensive plan that may affect Valrico. One of them is the Energy Industrial Park, 2315. And it is a text amendment. It would be going into the April amendment cycle. And there were 2 community meetings that were held at Mulrennan Middle School, the same location that we've been holding our community meetings on February 1st and February 22nd. With the completion of these meetings, this application would now go into the April amendment cycle. If you continue to actually work with us on receiving emails for the Valrico Community Plan, you will receive notification of when those public hearings will be with the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. Another amendment in the Energy Industrial Park by a different owner and a different applicant. This property is basically south and west of the railroad track that is out there, is labeled HCCPA 2406. It also is a text amendment. It will be at the Board of County Commissioners Land Use meeting on March 19th. The public is afforded the opportunity to speak. We offer that you please go to the county's website to learn about how the public does speak at the land use meeting. It would be going through the same process that the other amendment is going through. So this amendment is actually behind the first amendment. What will happen at the 19th in March is the Board of County Commissioners will make a determination of whether or not the application should go forward. If the application is to go forward, it would follow the same process that the other amendment is done and hold meetings in the community. Again, if you have questions, we do have staff planners here at the Planning Commission who are working on these amendments, and they can be reached right here. Their names are Jillian and Melissa, and I'll give this just a second if anyone would like to jot down either their telephone numbers or their email address. Also, this presentation will be available on the project website for the Valrico Community Plan. A little bit about transportation issues that we have. So Access 2050 Transportation Survey is ongoing right now. This is for countywide. So it is also going to include the 3 municipalities that we have here in Hillsborough County. Why this is important to the people of Valrico and the surrounding area is because through this survey, we ask for your zip code. And this allows us the opportunity to query the data that we receive and learn a little bit more about some of the transportation needs and interests of the folks that are living in Valrico. And since we are going through this planning process right now, we might be able to use some of that data to build policy specifically on some of the transportation questions that this survey is asking. So please do go to access2050.org and take the survey. So now let's actually get into the plan itself. We go. So where we are right now in the Valrico Community Plan. So a little bit about us again, the Planning Commission, we've been around since the 1960s. We do long-range planning and we do recommendations to all 4 of the elected boards and bodies within Hillsborough County. What's a community plan? Simply, it's an extension and a refinement of the comprehensive plan that provides specific language to a defined area. Obviously, Valrico is different than Ruskin. Ruskin is different than Thununasassa. Thununasassa is different than Brandon, which is again going to be different than Keystone, Odessa. But the comprehensive plan looks at those areas pretty much through the same lens. A community plan allows for planning at that community level and at that neighborhood level. Hillsborough County's been doing this for about 2 decades. We have 22 of them right now. Valrico will be the 23rd. Basically, this just shows what we just said. So again, comprehensive plan, the livable communities element, that's where you'll find all of these community plans. Valrico's community plan, and underneath it would be vision, goals, and strategies. So that's kind of the takeaway from it. What is the end result for the plan? It's a vision, it's goals, and it's strategies to actually reach those goals. So today we're going to talk about the draft vision and the draft goals. So a community plan is collaborative exercise. When we go out and we have conversations with folks, those folks are not just speaking with us, they're speaking with each other. And it provides a communication channel for the community, gives you an advocacy tool. This is a big thing that we like to talk about with folks, and we believe that the communities really find some value in this, and that this allows them to speak as one voice in front of appointed and elected officials, as well as going after grants for their community, since again, the community plan will actually stress and prioritize some of the goals for the community. And it informs new development, something we'll talk about. What does it not do? Well, it doesn't build specific structures or specific businesses, right? We can talk about some of these things in the plan, but it's not an action plan to actually get those things done. That would be something separate. We always like to say that we have a big policy pen and a very small or non-existent checkbook. So we can write policy that actually enable some of the conversations, but we don't have money for it. Where do those dollars come from? Those dollars are actually found in the capital improvements programs, which go through the county budget, which is a 5-year program. And every year that county budget is discussed in public hearings. It doesn't affect your school district, so it doesn't change your schools. It doesn't change your physical address. And also it does not change zoning or the land development code. There are separate processes to do that. How do you get involved? Well, you're here right now, so you're halfway there. Other ways that you can do it, community meetings in person, community meetings online. You can go to our websites and you can provide comment there. Office hours. This is where we basically, myself, Sophia, or other staff members will show up to the community, and we may be in a community building in one of the neighborhoods, or we may be something at like the Bloomingdale Library, where we're there for a couple of hours, no appointments needed, and you just drop in. And we advertise those through our mailing list that we have. So again, please sign up for emails. What have we done? What have we talked to people about? Well, so far we've had just over 250 participants through 8 community meetings. That includes the 2 that we had this past weekend at Mulrennan. We've had over 480 survey responses, 70 activity worksheets, 5 group activity maps, and a variety of presentations to some of the other groups out there, such as neighborhood associations, as well as the Valrico Chamber. So all of that information, your feedback, that's what goes into the plan. It builds this vision statement. We're going to talk about a concept map, which we'll talk about next time, the goals and the strategies for those goals. So let's actually dig down into it for a minute and basically see how the sausage is made when we talk about these vision statement and the goals. One of the things that we did a couple of months ago with the community was a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, oops, excuse me. One of the things there is your strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. And you'll see what some of those things that we got from the community, and you'll see some repetition in these where people are talking about parks or they're talking about mobility, and it's both a weakness and it's an opportunity. One of the things we also heard from people is when we characterize it as a small town feel, the folks in Valrico said, no, we don't really relate ourselves to being a town. And so we go, well, maybe it's just the community. It's the community character that you have here as being different. One of the things that we talk about Valrico when we're out there with the community and we feel like we get positive responses from the community is when the community looks east, it sees rural. When the community looks to the west, it sees suburban, right? So when it looks east, it looks outside of the urban service area, rural land, strawberry fields, cattle farms, or just people that own 5, 10, 15, 20 acres and have a home. But if you look in the other direction and you go towards Bloomingdale, you go towards Brandon, you go towards Riverview, and you run into some more of the suburban style development that you find running along, whether it's US 301 and some of those roads that intersect it, such as Bloomingdale, Lumsden Causeway, and such. So a little bit more as we dive down into it, we start to actually basically lump some of these thoughts and some of these words that we're receiving from folks, and we start to build topic areas for the goals, such as infrastructures, the established neighborhoods that we have here in Valrico, that community character, as well as connectivity and access. And we start to categorize those things where we're starting to ask ourselves, are they goals or are they strategies underneath the goals? We also sit down with folks and we draw on maps, because obviously some folks are going to be more visually oriented than they are when I just say, describe your community. Okay. Other people, I'm going to put down a map and I'm going to show you some of the assets in your map, in your community, and go describe your community. And that's what this is, where folks started circling where they shop, where they feel that is the heart or the soul of the community in the historic area of Valrico. What about things that they would like to see, such as better connectivity along State Road 60 on the eastern side so that you can actually access some of the parks in this area, as well as making your way to some of the schools that you have in the community. A lot of people, when we were doing that exercise, asked, how did you come up with this being Valrico, right? Like the geography of Valrico. Well, again, how do we make it? More of the sausage here, right? So basically, we started off with saying, okay, Valrico, where are the zip codes for Valrico? That's that hatching mark on there, all right? How about The census. Does the census have a designated place for Valrico? They have a designated place for Brandon and Riverview and other areas that have a variety of different statistics. Guess what? They do. What about areas that are already in a community plan? Sefner Mango to the north has a community plan. Brandon to the west, community plan. Riverview to the south, community plan. So we looked at those areas that aren't in a community plan. And that's how we got the first map that you see a little bit on the right side of your screen. That's that white area for Valrico. We then started asking some questions of, do you feel that this is Valrico? One of the things that we got is we got a lot of people who chimed in who actually live in Bloomingdale. So they live south and west of Lithia Pinecrest. They have a Valrico address, and they themselves associated themselves with Valrico. They're in the Brandon community plan. You can be in two community plans. That's not a problem. But you can't leave one to be in the other unless the Board of County Commissioners instruct staff to do that, which they have not. So by enlarging the boundary for Valrico to include those areas of Bloomingdale, the areas that are south and west of Lithia Pinecrest for Bloomingdale would be in two community plans. And they would need to be consistent with both of those community plans. So, and that's something that we'll have some conversations with the folks that live down there. We also increased it slightly to the north, just north of Sydney Road right there, because there would be one small area of the county inside the urban service area, the area where water and sewer and other types of public services are afforded in a different capacity there than they are outside of that service area, would be left outside of a community plan. So again, staff wanted to include that and ask the community their thoughts on that. We have also heard from some residents who live on the east side of Dover Road that perhaps they feel more akin to the Dover community and not to the Valrico community. So we do have some conversations with folks, and this map is still subject to change. So this takes us to our draft vision. And this vision is something that we want to have a conversation with you through the chat function. So we want folks to go ahead and let us know, do they agree with it? Do they disagree with it? What do they think is missing from it? In the same respect with some of the goals. So Valrico is a community of neighborhoods. It's unified in its goals of this plan, which seeks to preserve and enhance the suburban character amidst Hillsborough County's projected growth. One of the things right off the bat, when we were actually at Morenin, people said, we're not suburban, we're rural. That's your community character. That's on that second function down there, to maintain what you have. The suburban character is alluding to all of Hillsborough County in the sense of this area of the county, whether it's Valrico, Sefner Mango, Bloomingdale, Brandon, Riverview. You're all in an area that is considered suburban due to the amount of public facilities that are afforded it here that you don't get on the other side of the line. So again, that's kind of a keeping up with the Joneses comment that we want to put there, because as we grow through the projected population, we want to make sure that we're mindful of that. So then that second time, to maintain Valrico's community character, that is specific. That goes back to that idea that we said about looking east rural, looking west suburban. Valrico's in the middle. You still have some agricultural left in Valrico. You still have some large lot development. You have a beautiful tree canopy, as you've seen in some of these slides. So that harkens to your community character. So how do we focus that community character now on your built environment, compatibility with new development, protection and maintenance of your natural environment and public spaces, and the connectivity to those neighborhood resources? And that connectivity is usually your parks, your schools, and some very small areas for neighborhood serving retail uses that you see on Lithia Pinecrest or up on State Road 60. As Valrico evolves, so this is in the future. So again, as we talk about the fact that as we look out to 2050, just like on that transportation survey, and the hundreds of thousands of people that will be coming into Hillsborough County and living, whether it's in downtown Tampa, Plant City, or Valrico, how does the community envision a pedestrian-friendly connections between its established neighborhoods, its schools, and its parks? Opportunities to preserve that tree canopy, open spaces that preserve shade and greenery, and improvements to infrastructure that are balanced with the growth to enhance mobility and safety. So again, through those three areas, we have something that is a blanket statement of how Valrico fits within a larger worldview for Hillsborough County. How do you maintain something today? And then in the future, how do you maintain it and how do you improve upon it? Infrastructure, goal one. This is nuts and bolts, right? This is what you kind of expect to see. You expect to actually have, whether it's the sidewalks, lights, water, sewer, and whatnot. So the community supports the timely provision and maintenance of public facilities and infrastructure for both existing and future population. So we know that some folks are going to end up moving to Valrico, right? So we want to make sure that the infrastructure that's put in place there now and in the future can support that. Development. The community supports development that enhances the character, incorporating land use and design that's compatible with that neighborhood, maximizing open space, tree preservation, and mobility, safety, and connectivity through the area. This is very important because it allows us the opportunity to start talking about residential. You are primarily a residential community. Over 80% of the residences in your community are single family. So these are things that we need to have conversations about and look for ways in which we can enhance the compatibility in the future for development with those single family neighborhoods. Mobility. The community supports the maintenance and improvement of a transportation network that provides safe multimodal connectivity between neighborhoods and the community's focal points, such as commercial areas, parks, schools, and recreational opportunities. Again, this isn't to say that we are looking at widening roads. It's not to say that we're not looking for traffic calming. Maybe we are. It's not to say that we're looking for sidewalks and we're looking for trails. What you're looking for is all of it. You're looking for ways in which to improve mobility and connectivity, but to do it safely and to do it with community context in mind. Fourth goal, and we're almost done, is environment and recreation. So again, the community supports the preservation, conservation, and restoration of natural resources that include but are not limited to lands used for parks, recreation, and preserves within and adjacent to Valrico. Community plans, by their design, speak about what is within the boundary of the community. However, when you start talking about the environment and the preservation of nature, that is something that you can look at further afield from your community. And just outside of your community in the rural service area, there are some areas that have been purchased through taxpayer funding for parks and for nature preserves. And we would like to be able to have Valrico looking outward at those assets to be able to create connections to where folks that live in Valrico have access to some of that. So what do you think? So this again goes back into the chat function where we would like you to leave questions and comments in that virtual chat so that whether it's Sophia, who may be answering some of those questions right now and typing it out, or we'll go ahead and have some conversation about it. So what's next? We're going to be back out spring and summer where we'll do some office hours, like we said, maybe at the Bloomingdale Library, or if there is someone who would like to reach out to us and actually have a conversation, we can go do presentations in front of neighborhood and civic associations, church organizations, business organizations, really anything. Just give us a call and we'll try to schedule that. We are working on a survey that kind of works within some of the same parameters of the exercises that we had out at Mulrennan Middle School. That'll be available spring, summer. And we hope to have another series of community meetings back out in the community, probably in late summer, hopefully before school starts, where we'll be able to show you any revisions from these goals and vision, as well as a draft concept map, as well as some of the strategies to hopefully fulfill these visions, or excuse me, these goals. If you would like to contact myself or Sophia, these are our telephone numbers and our email addresses. And I believe with that, that's going to complete or end the presentation. So I thank you for your time. And now I can hand this over to Sophia and we can talk a little bit about some of the chats that you guys have been leaving in the chat function.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we did have just 2 questions so far. The first one, where do we voice our opinion on being in or outside of the Valrico planning area? If you reside in Dover, I just responded to that one. You could provide written comments here in the chat through this meeting, or you can go on our website and also provide some written comments through our public comment section. And the second one, does Lithia have a community plan? And that I am currently looking up, but it appears that Lithia would lie between the Valrico area and the Brandon area, but I'm double checking that just to make sure.
Yeah, to my knowledge, the community of Lithia does not have a community plan. It would be located within the boundaries of these other either to be established community plans such as Valrico, or some of the other community plans that do exist today and are adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, such as Brandon or Riverview. Let's see. I don't see any other questions at this time. All right, well, if there are no further questions, we'll give this another minute or two, but if there are no further questions, again, please do go on to our website, planhillsboro.org, where you can find this planning project as well as Access 2050 for the transportation survey. You will also find information related to the privately initiated energy industrial park amendments. And again, please remember through the Valrico Planning Project website to sign up to receive emails, and you will be put on to the mailing list for those privately initiated amendments to the energy industrial park. And I see Althea's comment. She says, I will tell you, my neighbors and I are uncomfortable with being considered in the Valrico with all of the additional growth Valrico is seeing. Yeah, thank you very much. These are things that we would definitely like to see. Again, we want to make sure that we have some conversations with folks about whether they are in or out of the community. And again, you should never broad brush even within a community. So just because we have some areas of Valrico that are seeing some suburban development, or perhaps some of the apartments that are on State Road 60, that by no means is indicative of every place in Valrico, and you can have a policy conversation about just that. So where do you sign up? On the website to receive emails? So again, if you go to the Plan Hillsboro site, put in Valrico, or if you go to the bit.ly site that's on the screen right there, it'll pop up. If you go to the bottom of it, it's going to have a comment, and if you put your email in there, you should receive, or you should be added to the email list, I believe. Is that correct, Bryn?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you. All right, well, I think with that, Mr. Fuentes, if you would stop the recording, and I think we're going to go ahead and end this meeting.